The mirror's shadow. Every family heirloom has a story, but this mirror had secrets. Sarah discovered it in her grandmother's attic, its ornate golden frame marred by cracks. Yet it was the reflection that unsettled her. Standing before it, her reflection seemed off. A half-second delay, a twitch that didn't match her movements. That night, Sarah dreamt of being trapped in the mirror's cold, glassy void, her screams muffled as a twisted version of herself roamed freely. She awoke drenched in sweat, but the mirror now hung ominously on her bedroom wall. As days passed, Sarah avoided her reflection. Yet, the figure in the mirror began moving on its own, smiling when she wasn't. It waved at her one evening, something Sarah hadn't done. Panic-stricken, she draped a sheet over it and locked the door. But the next morning, the sheet lay on the floor. Her distorted twin was gone from the mirror. Sarah turned and froze. "Your turn," it whispered, dragging her into the glass. The Whispering Well. In the heart of their small town was an abandoned well that locals avoided. "It whispers," people said. But curiosity got the best of 16-year-old Danny. One moonless night, Danny approached the well, the air thick with silence. He leaned over, peering into the void. "Who's there?" he whispered. The answer was immediate. A cacophony of voices, overlapping, pleading, screaming. Danny recoiled, but a cold wind surged from the well, yanking him back. He lost his footing, gripping the edge with desperation. A hand emerged, rotting, skeletal, yet eerily strong, grasping his wrist. "Join us," the voices hissed. Danny screamed as the hand tugged him down. By morning, the well was silent again. Danny's family searched for him, but all they found was his cap lying next to the well. The whispers started again that night, louder, clearer. Now, one of the voices called out for help, in Danny's tone, "The forest that never ends." Ellie loved hiking, but the dense forest she found on her GPS wasn't on any map. The entrance beckoned her with an arch of ancient twisting trees. Just an hour's hike, she told herself. But the path never ended. Each step seemed to lead her deeper, the trees growing darker, the air colder. Hours passed, her phone's signal gone, her GPS looping back to the same spot. Panicking, Ellie marked a tree with her pocket knife. 15 minutes later, she stumbled upon the same tree, her mark now older, as if weathered by years. As night fell, she heard whispers, faint but persistent. Shadows moved between the trees, circling her. She ran, tripping over roots, her flashlight flickering. She collapsed, exhausted, when a voice behind her spoke. "You shouldn't have come." She turned to see a figure, pale and gaunt, before everything went black. Ellie was never found. The forest remains, uncharted and uninviting. The ghost train. Ethan had heard rumors of the Midnight Express, a ghost train said to run through the old abandoned tracks. Curious, he waited near the rails one foggy evening. At 12:01 a.m., the ground trembled. A train emerged from the mist, its carriages glowing faintly. Inside, shadowy figures sat motionless, their hollow eyes staring out. Against his better judgment, Ethan stepped aboard. The doors slammed shut behind him. The passengers turned to face him, their skeletal grins wide. "Welcome," they whispered in unison. The train jolted forward, speeding through an endless void. Ethan tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. "Where are we going?" he demanded. "To your final stop," a conductor replied, his face decayed. Ethan screamed as the train plunged into darkness. When the train reappeared on the tracks years later, Ethan was among the passengers, his hollow eyes staring into nothingness. The locker room. Sarah inherited her aunt's mansion, a sprawling estate filled with secrets. But one door on the third floor was locked, its key nowhere to be found. Late one night, Sarah heard scratching coming from behind the door. She pressed her ear against it and heard faint whispers. Curiosity got the best of her, and she pried the door open with a crowbar. The room was empty, except for a single mirror on the wall. As she approached, her reflection moved independently. It smiled wickedly, then reached out of the glass, dragging her in. Now, Sarah's reflection roams the mansion freely, while she remains trapped in the mirror, screaming silently. The lake's cursa. Teenagers dared each other to swim in Blackwater Lake, rumored to be cursed. Mia, the bravest of the group, dove in first. The water was cold, unnaturally so, and grew darker as she swam deeper. Suddenly something brushed her leg. She surfaced, but her friends were gone. A hand emerged from the water, pulling her under. Her screams were muffled as ghostly faces surrounded her, their eyes glowing eerily. By morning, her friends found her clothes on the shore, but Mia was never seen again. Locals say her face now appears beneath the lake's surface, waiting for her next victim, the doll maker. In a quiet village, an old doll maker was rumored to bring his creations to life. Anna, a young girl, bought a doll from his shop. That night, the doll moved. It whispered her name, its glassy eyes following her. By morning, it was in her bed, though she'd left it on the shelf. Terrified, Anna tried to burn it, but the flames wouldn't touch it. The doll's grin widened. "You're mine now," it hissed. Anna disappeared that night. Weeks later, a new doll appeared in the shop, its face eerily resembling Anna's, the Light Keeper. A storm raged as Sam, the new lighthouse keeper, took his post, but the previous keeper had vanished, leaving behind a cryptic journal. "The light must never go out," it warned. Yet at midnight the light failed. Shadows crept closer to the tower, whispering Sam's name. Desperately he restarted the lamp, but the whispers grew louder. By dawn, Sam was gone. His journal lay open, the final words scrawled. "They've come for me." The abandoned church. Tom explored an old church, its stained glass shattered and pews covered in dust. As he wandered, the organ began to play a haunting melody. Figures emerged from the shadows, their faces hollow and their hands outstretched. Tom ran for the door, but it slammed shut. The congregation whispered in unison, "Stay and pray." Tom's screams were lost in the hymn as the church claimed another soul, the room with no exit. Jacob woke in a small, windowless room with a single door. He opened it only to find another identical room. Each room he entered seemed smaller, the walls closing in. Panic set in as whispers filled the air, growing louder with every step. Finally, he opened the last door and saw himself, standing in the first room, staring back with hollow eyes. The door slammed shut, trapping him forever. If you like this video, a thumbs up is always appreciated. And by subscribing to the channel, you help support the creation of more videos just like this one. Real short scary stories, disturbing short horror stories,